Hi and welcome to The Inquisitive Artist, where I, Lindsay Tyson, dive deep into the lives, art and creative processes of fellow artists. I'm fascinated by how others approach their work, their unique perspectives and the ways they navigate life. Join me as I explore candid conversations with artists and creatives from all walks of life. Together, we'll discuss the challenges of the creative journey and share insights to encourage your own artistic path. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to this two-part episode of The Inquisitive Artist. In this conversation, I sit down with talented photographer and artist Melody Thornton at her home in Holmfirth. We discuss her work and dive into some deeply personal and thought-provoking topics. Across these two episodes, we discuss themes like art, identity, sexuality and social issues, touching on sensitive subjects such as sexual violence, LGBTQ+ experiences and body politics. Please note that this conversation includes mature and potentially triggering content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi Melody.
Hello Lindsay.
Thank you for taking this time to spend with me.
Absolute pleasure. Lovely to see you again.
Yeah, it is. So I'll just say a few words about how we met. So I first met you at the Women in Art Prize Award ceremony, didn't I? Last year at the Roundhouse in Camden, and we both won prizes. Yay!
We did.
So I won the Hampstead School of Art Emerging Abstract Painting Prize, and you won the Nikon Europe Art Prize.
I was very surprised to win.
Which was a photography.
It was.
Right, obviously, Nikon.
Yeah.
And you won a camera, didn't you?
I won a beautiful camera. To the point where I went home and just sold all my old cameras.
Really?
And I just have that camera now.
Really? I was going to ask you about your camera, yeah. So it was a really good prize then.
Beautiful. It was really good prize.
Wow.
I was very pleased.
It was very exciting, wasn't it?
It was, and they gave it me there and then.
Did they?
I literally walked out with the camera. There was a lady judge there, I can't remember her name, but because I didn't think I would win. So I stood right at the back because I thought that in my mind I had an idea who was going to win.
Right, okay.
And so I just stood at the back, and even when they said my name, I just like,
yeah,
and that sort of fight through the crowd, way at the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the camera was lovely, and I think the woman who presented me the award, who is a photographer, was one of the judges. I think
was
that's
that
how
Kate
it was judged.
Bentley, or was that somebody else?
Yes.
Bentley.
And there was a few female judges, but yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. When I heard my name, I was in total shock, and I started going yes, and it was like I was so embarrassed because I was like some football hooligan.
Well, I hugged for too long because I went up and hugged the judge who announced my name, and looking back now, I think I hugged about 10 seconds too long than I should have.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe it. I had no speech ready, nothing. No. And you think I could have said something really sort of feminist and great for women photographers out there. Yeah. Nothing. No. Just I can't believe
I know. I was just as oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All a blur.
Yeah. Gosh, but it was a really exciting night.
It was really exciting night. Yeah. Really exciting because.
And we met lots of
lovely people who we're still good friends with.
Yeah,
which is lovely.
It's like a family, isn't it?
It is.
It's really,
Absolutely.
So I was going to say a bit later, maybe, but I'll say it now while I think about it. That I think it's February when they open up for
because it's quite a long submission time.
Yeah, long submission time. So if anybody's thinking about it, to do it,
even if you don't win. It's just lovely to be around other women artists.
Yeah, great experience.
And how we hold each other up and support each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Right, so when I think of Melody and Melody's work, these words come to mind. So I've written them down in no particular order. Self-portrait, theatrical, narrative, feminist, blood, photography, Francis Bacon and nudity.
I think that about covers
it all. Does that cover everything?
Covers it all.
So I think it's best if you explain what your work's like and maybe what it's about.
Well, I have to have an idea. So, for example, I did a series of images called The Suicide Flowers. The idea came from, there was a couple of young boys had committed suicide in my village. And for me to understand some things, I have to almost do art to kind of work out in my head what it all means and what can I do. So then I'll take that idea and then I'll work out, I'll do some drawings and words, and I'll do some brainstorming. And then I came to beautiful flowers in a noose, because, taken too soon and all that lot. And so very much an idea. So conceptual, I suppose, a conceptual artist, I'll have the idea is more important than the finished product almost. Right. So I have the idea and how I get there. I'm not so bothered about how I get there, but the idea is primarily most important to me.
Yeah, I think that comes across to me, that the ideas are really quite interesting.
The ideas are more important than
probably the end product even. So is your web page for your home page, is that from that?
No, the home page.
I absolutely love your home page on your website.
I did that website myself, by the way.
I was going to ask you that.
I built it myself from scratch.
Did you? What, total scratch?
Total from scratch. I've never done a website before, and I did it all from scratch.
And was it on a template? Is it on like Squarespace?
It's on
a
template. It's on Squarespace, on a template, and I've had a few websites over the year, and I was never quite happy. And there's only so many ways you can convey an idea to someone. Yeah. And they obviously can't see your vision. And you can go, well, if you could just do it this way. I'm like, so I just thought, I'm going to do it myself. And it took me 6 months. Right, yeah. But I did it myself.
Yeah, well, I think it looks great. And I love the image on the front, on your homepage, and with your flowers. So whoever's listening, go and have a look at Melody's website, which I'll put all the information.
It's been used for an example for some art group thing. They actually used my website as an example of how to do it. A website. But that picture in particular, my mum, again, ideas. My mum died 3 years ago, so that actually is her death mask. Right. So it's where you have the radiation. They put them. If you look at this series, you'll actually see the cage they put over, and the little cross where she had a brain tumour. And when she died, she gave me the mask. Wow. Because she knew I would do something with it. That I would do something with it. And it took a couple of years. And I thought, what do I want to do with it? And I thought, I just want to bring her back to life. So I filled it with flowers. And then, again, if you look at the series, you'll see that the flower's dying because obviously you can't bring her back to life. Yeah. So that's the finished product, and then the image just goes on with the flowers slowly dying. And a little mouse was coming in and stealing the flowers and making nests.
Really? Oh,
so when I was clearing up my studio, I found little nests of the flowers in the corners that mice have made nests. Yeah, nests with the flowers.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, gosh. So we'll probably come back to your work a little bit more in a little while. I just wanted to ask you about your background, where you're from originally. Are you from this area? Are you from an artistic family? Have you always wanted to be an artist?
I'm a southerner.
Yeah, I thought you
I'm originally from Northampton.
Right.
And then as soon as I finished my A-levels, I was off to London. I didn't care how I got there. So I ended up being a nanny just to get to London. I left all my friends, all my family. Right. That's how determined I was.
Was that because you wanted to be an artist, or what
I just wanted more than Northampton had. So went to London. I had a couple of friends in London. I spent a lot of time clubbing and going around to galleries. And I was very much, all my friends back then and now are gay men.
Right.
I just love the way they are, and so I went to London and hung up very much on the gay dancing.
That's a brave thing to do. So you got the job before you went, I assume.
I got the job. I knew I had to get to London. I knew, but I knew I didn't have any money. I had no money. Parents weren't overly excited.
How old were you?
So I would have been 18 when I finished my A-levels. Parents weren't over keen about me going to London with absolutely no job, nothing. But I knew I wanted to get there. Yeah. So I got a nannying job because I thought you could live in.
Yeah.
So I lived in, so I knew I had a home. Yeah. And I did that for 18 months.
Wow. Fantastic.
And just went clubbing in the weekends, looked after the kids in the week, and went clubbing with all my little friends in the weekend.
Okay, so whether to say, are you from an artistic family, or whether to just go straight into when you went to uni to do?
No artistic family. Okay. Not one.
Okay.
Not even a distant cousin.
Right. So how long were you nanny for?
So I nannied for 18 months.
Oh, you just said that. Sorry,
yeah, and then I came back to Northampton because I kind of got it out of my system, and I went and did a photography BTEC.
Right. Okay.
Because I knew I was artistic, but I couldn't paint and I couldn't draw. So
you did that in Northampton, or is that when
did it in Northampton? So
okay.
I knew that I wanted to do some artistic. I loved female photographers. So when I came back to Northampton, moved back in with my parents, did a BTEC, did really, really well in the BTEC, and my tutor said, I think you're good enough to do a degree. Right. So I applied, and I thought, I want to go back to London. So I thought, I'm only going to go to a university in London, or I won't go. Yeah. And luckily I got into my first choice.
And that's the London
College of Printing.
Because when I read the London College of Printing, I thought, well, what does that mean? It doesn't mean photography to me, just London College of...
Well, I think if I remember rightly, it's London College of Printing and Distributive Trades. I think that's the full name of it. And it was part of the London Institute. So they had journalism as well. Within the we had journalism... So anything to do with that you would read in the magazines. So any sort of curators, journalism, anything like that. But I did straight photography. Nothing. I mean, obviously I was quite artistic within it.
Yeah.
But no, it was straight photography.
So was it really all the technical?
It was very technical. Yeah. And yeah, I did really well.
So your new camera, you actually know how to use it.
So I am trained. And of course, this is all before digital, and this is all before the internet.
Right, yeah. It's all dark rooms.
So it was all dark rooms, colour and black and white. So I'm trained I'm proper trained. And where you go and do your images, and you've got to wait 3 days because you've got to process it and print it and contact sheet it and all that lot. Yeah. So proper trained.
Yeah. And was there anything artistic about that? What, the types of images you took at the time?
Yeah.
Was it very arty, or was it just
very arty? Very arty. So my end of degree show, I did nudes. So I did self-portrait, but they were huge. They're 5 foot by 4 foot nudes, but I wanted to do it in the style of Rembrandt. So even back then, history of art was very much in my head. So the pictures actually look like they've been lit by candles. So the lighting, and I don't even know if I've got any of those on the website. I should have to have a look.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any of those. No.
Well, I'm completely naked.
I know you've got a new narrative sort of. Yeah, but you've got your clothes on in those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just touching on the clothes. Some of the images I do, if I wear clothes, it is distracting. So I do try to do a lot of images. So when you look at the cook in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I did try with clothes on.
Right, okay.
But it's just distracting.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, I can imagine it wouldn't work with clothes. But
no.
So what we're talking about, I'll probably talk a bit more about that. But people will have to go and have a look, won't they, on your website to really see what we're talking about. Yeah. But
no, I don't go out of my way to be naked, nude in all my images. It's just I'll do something. I can't understand why it's not working, and then I'll be.
So your final show, you decided you would have naked self-portraits.
Self-portraits, which...
How do they relate to Rembrandt? Just the poses, or the...
It's almost like a shadow. Right. It's a new shadow. You can't... It's one of those... I think they're quite clever, because you see everything but nothing. So the way it's lit, you can't see any sort of nipple or anything like that. Okay. I hope to think it's very beautifully done.
So would you... stand there and have a timer on your camera?
So again, back then, not you had to have the have the release, so you can see the release in my hand. Yeah. But they are one of my favourites, even today. One of my favourite images, and I didn't realise until now how brave I was doing that. At the time, it didn't seem anything, because I've always been
taking your clothes off.
Yeah, I've always been very comfortable taking my clothes off. I'm a big girl, and I'm quite proud. Yeah. And I think if I was a thin girl, I don't think the images would work half as well. So I've always been quite confident with taking my clothes off. It doesn't bother me at all. Yeah. I mean, I do life drawing. I'm a model for life drawing.
Right. Yeah.
Even now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me. So it didn't seem anything at the time, but looking back, I think, oh, yes.
And what about, because obviously you'd have your course mates and that all seeing you naked and
I think what's
the reaction to that? Yeah.
Well, what started was there was a girl on the course and she was going to lose weight for about a year, and that was going to be her work. Her end of degree show was going from big to small. Okay. So I wanted to do it in reverse, really. I really wanted to see how big I could get through the year. Wow. So that's how it started. I just thought, well, I'm just going to do it in reverse. Let's just get really big, and that's how it started. I mean, that's not how the product ended up. The images ended up in the end, but that was my thinking. I just like to be a bit naughty. Yeah, I suppose, for want of a better word, just a bit mischievous. Yeah. That
comes across to me when I've met you before. I think it's a little bit of you that's quite mischievous in a nice way.
And I think because people don't particularly like looking at big girls. I mean, again, it's changed now, but back then, it was. I just thought, well, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Great. I've got to stop saying yes all the time. I'm always going, yep.
I say so a lot. So.
Were there a lot of women on the photography course, or was it mostly men?
It was mostly men. There was a few girls who I'm still friends with, even all these years later. Yeah. Surprisingly, not a lot of people ended up being photographers, which I think is the same in a lot of degree courses. You don't end up doing the job that you've trained for. Yeah. But I kept to it. And it's been a hard slog, but I kept to it. So I left uni and became a freelance photographer.
And what sort of photographs were you
taking? So I sort of exhibited art-wise. So I had a little exhibition in Berlin back in 1999. I also went to NASA and photographed a shuttle launch.
How did you end up in Berlin? How did you just go and do it? Or
no, I had made a degree show, and someone on the degree show, can we show one of your works in Berlin? I mean, I didn't go. I'd never really exhibited outside the country, so I didn't really know if you went, if you stayed, how you shipped it out there, how it got shipped back. I had no idea. So I was just very sort of cavalier and said, yeah, you can take it, and then they sent it back, and I don't even know the name of the gallery now.
Really? Oh, wow.
I know.
Well, it's quite a while ago.
It's quite a while ago. And then I had a little exhibition on Bond Street, a group show on Bond Street. So I sort of exhibited.
Yeah.
And just
and worked. Then NASA, how did that?
NASA, that was fabulous. So it was the 30th anniversary of Man on the Moon. So it was 1999. It was also the first time a female commander had gone into space. So a friend of mine who was on the course, she did her end of degree show on female astronauts, and the Leicester Science Centre picked it up, and then NASA picked it up, and then we were all expenses paid to go to NASA I photographed the shuttle launch, and she filmed it, and we got to meet loads of fabulous people, and it was just one of the highlights of my life. It really is. Because I think they stopped the space program after that for a very, very long time.
Right.
After that.
Gosh, sometimes these opportunities come along. It's not often things like that come along, is it? That's amazing.
It's another one where at the time I sort of did it, and now I look back. Now I've got children, and you're sort of telling your kids, and you realise, God, that was actually quite a fantastic thing. Quite a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and out of all the photographers could have gone, it was you and...
Yeah, well, I could drive. That was the big thing, really.
Right,
I think she could have had any photographer on the course, but I think she knew I could drive.
Right.
So that's why I got the
job.
So
you drove in America as well?
So I drove in America.
On the right-hand side of the road.
Talk about.
Okay.
We got lost quite a lot of times.
Before I move on, I was just going to... you said you did 5-foot prints of you at your degree show. So is that difficult? Was that still all in a dark room?
That was all... I didn't print it myself. I wanted to do it 5'4" by 4 because I wanted them to be life, so that they're almost like I'm in the picture, and that's why. So they, again, I couldn't do that, so I did get another printing place to do that. But they were lovely, beautiful, and I sold a couple from the show, so it paid for itself. All good.
Yeah, brilliant.
All good.
Right. Okay. So we might have talked about this already. Your work could be described because you also paint with blood.
I do.
Do you paint with anything else? Is it just blood? Or?
what the blood, I did a series of images called Terrible, which is rape in the history of art, where I take on this character who goes back in time and sort of fights the enemy and tries to change the narrative of, Leda and the Swan, the rape of Europa, Persephone, all that kind of stuff. And so I had to get fake blood, and I must have bought about 20 different kinds of fake blood, and I couldn't get it. It just didn't look right, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna have to get it myself. So, and that's where it came from. And then when I got the nurse in to take the blood, and I was quite euphoric, and it was really quite exciting because I'd created my own paint. I'd made my own paint, and it's also got my DNA in it. And there was something lovely about painting with, well, when you, again, history of art painting, so you'll get like a Rembrandt and they'll find in the paint the fingerprint of Rembrandt, or the fact that he licked his brush, and there might be, and I thought, if I paint with blood, my DNA is in there. You don't even have to take a little scrape, it's all over. Wow. And blood is gorgeous to paint with. I know, really? I know it's very macabre, but it's a beautiful colour.
Does it not go just a mucky brown when it dries? Does it stay red?
It stays red. I did
and is it archival, and is it like?
Well, we'll see, because I've only been doing it a couple of years, but I've sold a couple, and it will change colour. It will go brown eventually, but it takes a long time, and the brown's quite nice. Yeah. But I did the British flag in blood, right? And it's quite big, massive. So it took 3 goes of the nurse.
I was going to say, how much blood?
3 goes.
And so how much blood do you take each time?
She takes about 80 ml each time.
And do you wash it down with anything, just pure, straight? Just straight
on the thing. And it does smell, don't get me wrong, it does smell, but it's exciting. I find it really exciting to paint with blood. I don't think I'm unusual. I think if you, again, history of art, I think
it's been done before.
It's been done before. Well, painting with urine, painting with blood, I mean, it's all been done.
But would that be in times when they didn't have anything else they could paint
Possibly. But I know Andy Warhol did a whole series of paintings with urine.
Really?
So, and that's, what was that, in the 60s, 70s? So,
you wouldn't think you'd be able to see that very much. You'd think it'd be quite pale, wouldn't you?
Well, I think he did it on metal. Right. So for me, the blood is reaction with certain things. So I did a series of images where I took acidic fruits and the acidic fruits will burn the blood and change it in front of your eyes.
I think I remember it. So,
and
did you do one of your postcards?
Did one of my postcards, and I just find that really quite exciting.
Yeah, so seeing what happens when you mix it.
Sort of alchemy, almost.
Yeah.
Because you can't predict which way it's going to go. So every time is different, and I quite like that.
Yeah. Gosh. So, I mean, I've probably been jumping around a little bit.
No, you're right. But
we never talked about your MA, so just going back to your education.
Yeah.
So you did an MA in Leeds in 2021. So how long was that after you?
Well, what happened was COVID. Right. So COVID. Yeah. So I was, up until this point, I was a freelance photographer for the tour, for Visit Britain and various other things. I used to photograph a lot of children. Of course, COVID happened, and they were the first things. Right. Everything was cancelled, and the photography industry was changing anyway, because you're very much going into influencers on Instagram. So all the stuff I used to do for the tourist board before, like events and stuff like that, well, they didn't need to pay me a certain amount of £1 a day. They could go on to TikTok or onto Instagram and find
the images from there. Or
they'll get some influencer who can do it for them at half the price, kind of thing. Yeah. So I knew the industry was changing. I mean, it changed very much when we went to digital, and then it changed again when social media came in. So I could see where it was going. And also, with the onset of digital, you didn't have to be particularly good at photography anymore, because you can
take thousands, and
you can look on the back of a camera. You can Photoshop if you're, your composition is a little bit off. You can Photoshop things. Yeah. So I knew it was all changing for me, and that for me as a working photographer, I didn't think was going to be manageable. Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to have to change. So when COVID happened, I've always loved my art, and I kind of pushed it aside a bit because I had a family, and bills to pay and all that lot. So I sort of put the art aside. And then when COVID happened, I thought I'm going to go and do my master's. So I did. I went to, I mean, it wasn't the best. It was a good experience. Wasn't the best because it was COVID. There was none of this, dancing in the at lunchtime, which I had in my mind, a bit like Fame, that I thought everyone would meet in the cafeteria, and we'd all be exchanging our ideas and dancing on the tables, and someone would get a guitar.
I'm not sure where you got that idea from.
And it wasn't like that because the cafeterias were closed, and you literally went if you did most of it at home online, and if you did go in, you had to wear masks, and so it was. But I loved it. I did love it because one thing I think with masters is it makes you think so much deeper than you ever did before. And I had a really good supervisor called Nicola Dale, and I will shout out to Nicola Dale. She just took me in hand and steered me through, made my work go deeper. It was an MA in fine art, so MA in fine art, and she absolutely steered me in the right direction, and she made me think deeper and longer and more creatively and outside the boxes, sometimes outside the room.
Maybe I should do that. I'm just thinking.
No, and
I always been a bit scared of MS.
No, I loved it.
Was it quite structured, or was it quite a loose one? Did you have to have your own project, or did they?
It was quite loose. So you because obviously you're older to do the masters, so you kind of left on your own. It's structured, but just brilliant, really good. I did it for a year. I got it. I passed it.
Yeah, good.
But it was just lovely to make someone think differently, and because of that course, it changed how I do any kind of art now.
Right.
Very instrumental in the artist I am today. Very much.
Wow. And so did you have a final show for that?
We did have a final show again because of COVID. It was a little bit restricted, and that's where I did this series on the terrible series, the raping. So I did produce 9 images, which are on the website, to highlight that some of the images you see in galleries and museums and all that lot are actually quite sinister, and they're dark, and they've got rape behind them. Or
what made you decide on that subject matter?
I went to the National Gallery and saw the Artemisia Gentileschi exhibition, and I was really struck with Susanna and the Elders, and I thought it was such a beautiful, beautiful image. And so I looked into the history of it, found out it was from the Bible, and that it was about a sexual assault, and then I thought, I wonder how many other. And then when I started digging, I couldn't believe how many rapes are in history of art. I mean, even the Rape of Europa, which is by Titian, but Titian's is the most famous one. Even in the title, I don't think people realise it's a rape, even though it's literally in the title of the artwork. Yeah. And then I found 9. And that was just. I mean, I found so many more. I mean, there's 50 rapes in the Bible.
And what is it about the rape side of it that you haven't been raped?
Oh yes, when I was 19. No, I don't.
That?
No, I don't mind. When I was 19, and a lot of I know friends who've been raped. So and I don't think we even today women feel particularly safe walking home, and still. I mean, I think I read somewhere that you ask a man and a woman what are the 2 things they're afraid of, and a woman will say rape, and a man will say humiliation. It's
right.
So. Yeah, it just really touched a nerve with me. Probably because of when I was 19.
And do you think it is because of that? That's sort of set.
I always like to fight women's corner, and not just because I am a woman. I just, I don't know. I don't like. Well, the history of art, as we know, is very much written by men, set up by men. So I just wanted to go in there and change the narrative a little bit, and to highlight the fact that you are looking at something that isn't what you think it is.
Yeah.
Gosh,
interesting. So I was going to say what drives you, but maybe that's.
I like fairness. So but even though I am a feminist, because I've got sons, I fight the corner for men as well.
Yeah.
I'm very much a fairist. I want everybody to have equal rights as such.
But I think for me, it's the same. It's about fairness. It's not just men versus women thing.
No,
is it?
I mean, I don't want to earn more than men. I just want I want to earn the same amount of money for the same amount of work. Yeah. Simple as that. Yeah. I don't want to earn more money just because I'm a woman for doing less work.
Yeah.
And I also think, as a feminist, teaching my 2 boys that women, we can't have it all. We can't say we want to earn the same as you, but can you pay for dinner? Can you pull my chair out? Can you open the doors for me? We've got to let things, the good, all the lovely fairy tale things, we have to let them go if we really want equality. So I also fight men's corners as well as women's corners. I just want everything to be fair. Nothing's black and white, but generally as a rule, like I say, the same amount of work, same amount of pay.
Yeah. Why should it be different? Yeah. There should be no different.
Should be no different.
Yeah. For anybody of any background. Thank you for listening. You've reached the end of part 1. Tune in next week for part 2.